say that I don't feel enlightened every day. So we're worse than that.
Mm.
So understand that the Buddha's mind brings great joy. Their understanding was attained from constantly listening to the Dharma for many decades. Um, you see, we can't be listening to the same Dharma all the time. I'm not sure if some of you have listened to Dharma from other masters. You'll find that the Dharma teachings are very similar, although they may be from a different angle. And why is that so? Why do we then constantly listening to the Dharma for many decades? So it's quite, if you try to reflect back on the 5 periods of teaching, except for the first period of Vatamsaka, the rest of it, Buddha spent years teaching. And just on the Lotus Sutra, Master also spending years. The reason being is in the second line. That's why they rejoice and were glad to have attained the great path of great understanding. Because the worldly words, you see, we are in this world, our communication is confined to worldly words. Because we are confined to worldly words, a lot of the, if you like, the codes in the teaching is between words, and we have to contemplate on that great understanding. Now, unless you're capable, you have the spiritual power, unless you have the spiritual power of mind-to-mind communication or mind-to-mind transmission of the Dharma, um, we have to listen to the teaching for many, many decades to understand. But even when we understand and you notice that the hearers or Sravakas have already listened to the Dharma for the first 4 periods until the final period, then only then, and they were already accomplished beings, they're noble beings because they're already arahants. And yet they have not then understood the bodhisattva path. So therefore, that understanding, and I just used under this bold this word great understanding, this meaning of great in here is that extensive. So if you think, I mean, certain for me, even for being what I am right now, and even to attain just even the first level enlightenment, we're still so far off, and I can't even see the spiritual horizon in front of me. So imagine even at that level, and they were already in the 4th stage of arahathood, I mean, they already attained the 4 fruits of arahathood. Even at that level, they couldn't still penetrate the bodhisattva path yet. So this great path of great understanding, I bought it because it is so immensely great that I think that's why it's hard for worldly word to describe what is the meaning of this great understanding. So then what to do? So to do that, from what I have recently heard of the analogies, and this is extraordinary Dharma. So the other way that the Buddha, and it's through the skillful means, that words cannot get through and permeate through the mind, then the Buddha used analogies to teach this extraordinary Dharma, and hopefully then to awaken the mind. And obviously in chapter 3, as you all know, the Buddha taught, used the metaphor of the burning house. And from there, hopefully they will then awaken the realization to understand what needs to be done further to progress. So they understood the Buddha's intentions and then obtained the benefits of awakening, which we just explained, to awaken from that state of spiritual attainment. And even in spiritual attainment, there is obviously, it could be a hindrance, because in spiritual attainment, there is the word attainment is a desirous state of mind. So that's the reason why, as you read the Heart Sutra says there is no attainment, there is no knowledge and no attainment. So when the no knowledge and no attainment, the Bodhisattva dwells in the perfection of wisdom, has no fear, and be able to therefore able to penetrate to the higher learning. So therefore, this state of awakening is to remove that hindrance. So the Master's explanation: when we are nourished daily with Dharma water permeating the ground of our minds, we will gradually absorb the Dharma and will comprehend the great path. Now, if the obviously, Master was saying that, so if we keep listening to Dhamma all the time, and at some point in time, even though only one molecule of the water permeates through the ground of our minds, they will then over time be able to gather more and more. So there is why did the Master actually then undertook to write the Lotus Sutra everyone? Obviously, in one of the, I don't know which chapter, but part of it, and those who been in the practice for a while would understand that writing a sutra is actually a part of the learning, and it's been and even in the Buddha said, certainly in the Diamond Sutra and also in the Lotus Sutra, when you write and copy the Lotus Sutra, you'll gain the understanding, and there will be immense merits that you will get. So, and this is the part about learning, and learning is not just seeing and hearing, and also, but more importantly, is that we go out and experience and apply the Dharma, then we'll then comprehend the great path. So we heard the teaching in the past and did not really understand it. Perhaps the teaching may awaken our minds later when a particular matter or a particular metaphor arises. So this is the part that, and sometimes I hear certain very simple teaching, and I do not, I may not fully, I'll give you an example, and this has been lingering in my mind. What do you mean by cultivating a mantra? I mean, I understand about chanting a mantra. How do you cultivate a mantra, for example? And these are simple words that will come from some great masters and great teachers. And the reason why they are made in very simple words is because it enables us to reflect and contemplate on what is behind those words. And now, sometimes we do not know until a particular metaphor arises, and that's why the Buddha used an analogy to teach. So from the chapter 3 of the burning house, and talking about the father who then went into the house, the children are playing inside. So in response back in chapter 3, the four then talk about the poor son leaving the house, or leaving the father and wandering out and became poor. So this is still, and this metaphor will expand the mind to see what, and to demonstrate what the Dharma is trying to show us. So once we can then understand, explain the Buddha Dharma, which I just explained, seeing, hearing, and experiencing the Buddha Dharma, living the Dharma then is inseparable from our life. So because why is this inseparable? Because from that experience, you can then sit and contemplate on what you have experienced to then bring the realization. But even with the realization, it's not enough. We need to bring spiritual insights of what the teaching is. So in walking the Bodhisattva path, we walk amongst the masses to help relieve the suffering and expound the Dharma. And obviously, this is part of our practice, help relieve the suffering and expound the Dharma. So understanding then make us happy that we have done that. So despite being old and decrepit, the Buddha in his compassion told the four that it was not too late because they could still form aspirations. In fact, wisdom life is everlasting and the Dharma has no beginning and no end. Now, one the one who is cultivated for a long period of time, that part of going to the next level or the next stage of enlightenment is only a moment. So the question is, how much have we taken up to heart in the practice? And what we need is that trigger of that awakening moment for us to trigger on what we already have learned and gathered in the past, and then enable us to form the aspiration to go further forward. So in fact, wisdom life is everlasting. And why? Because it takes a long time for us to travel on this path of immeasurable distance to continue to gain perfection and wisdom. And the Dharma has no beginning because we don't know, no beginning because we do not know when the Dharma started, because it's from, and all the Buddha said was since the beginningless time. Now, no end means this Dharma will still be around until there is still one unenlightened being. So as long as there is one unenlightened being left, Dharma will still be around. Why is that the case? Because it's in the Bodhisattva vow. Bodhisattva vow say, so long as there are enlightened being in all the six realms, the Bodhisattva will be around to do the work of the Buddha and to spread the Dharma to help the enlightened beings. And that's the reason why I say what's mean by no end. So lessons learned. Opening the provisional to reveal the true Dharma means Dharma is truly impartial, with enlightened understanding of true principles. Truly impartial because it doesn't gravitate to the left or right, or there any boundaries on that and any discrimination to the teaching. So we must therefore, in our practice, the Dharma in itself is impartial, because even though Buddha started with a small vehicle, the middle vehicle, and the great vehicle, but even at a great vehicle, for one to take on the Bodhisattva path, we still need to understand the Four Noble Truths, the 12 cyclic existence, and emptiness. So therefore, understanding this to go on the great vehicle, it doesn't mean it's partial. And all the teaching, therefore, impartial, and because we need to learn them all. So in the same way, in our practice, it must be impartial to all. That means we have to view all equally with compassion. So the wisdom of the two vehicles is biased towards emptiness, but practitioners stop, and that's our awakening. So those what Master trying to say is, because they stopped at the two vehicles, they have not yet graduated. But if we just take that part of the understanding, obviously then we'll be biased to one side. So in much the same way, if we then learn in a subject, and if we learn the subject that it's only that part of that subject matter, and it doesn't balance with the other part, and obviously we only learn the white, we don't learn the black. Whether we just learn the virtues, we understand the afflictions, then our practice won't be complete, because then if everybody then and just understand virtues, then despise all those who are afflicted, that's not part of the practice. So in much the same way that we understand virtues, we need to understand afflictions, because without understanding affliction, we will never understand how the mind works. So this is what it is. So we need to have this perfect understanding. Otherwise, then perfect enlightenment cannot be attained. So transforming oneself is not good enough. We must transform others, and that's the wisdom of Bodhisattva. It's the wisdom of the middle way. Wisdom of the middle way, because that is the part about that wondrous existence on the other side of emptiness. So whilst there's emptiness on one side, there's existence on the other side. But the existence on the other side without affliction and to liberate sentient beings, that's a wondrous existence. So although with this, they have attained great universal enlightenment, they have not yet attained that great perfection. What is that great perfection? And that great perfection is the perfection of both virtues and wisdom. Only a Buddha has transcended the 9 Dharma realms. Um, 9 Dharma realms transcended, meaning they've gone through all the 9 Dharma realms. So there are 4 noble realms, right? So you got the Saravaka, you got the Vajra Buddha, you got the Bodhisattva, and then you got the Buddhahood. So the 4 noble realms. So for the Bodhisattvas, which I'm due the 3rd one, and then the 6 enlightened realms, as you all know, which is the 6 realms, and the human realm being one of them that we are in. So in contemplation, life is a journey and it's unpredictable. Now, obviously, it's unpredictable because we do not have perfect wisdom. Therefore, we do not know what have done in the past. So whatever done in the past will unfold as karma before us. That part it will come. The question is whether it comes in this life, or it can come tomorrow. It's going to come next year, or 10 years later, or it come next life. We don't know. So that part is unpredictable. But it will come, become as will come. So then obviously for us to deal with that, and Dharma teaches us to deal with this unpredictable part of our life. You never know when it will be thrown at you. So expectations will only bring disappointment. So if we then expect something to happen, that expectation is a manifestation of a desire. So in many moments there's a manifestation of a desire and the expectation is not met, that will lead to an emotion, an emotion dissatisfaction or anger, whatever the case may be. So walk the joyous journey to the other shore. So if we then understand the Dharma, withdraw our expectation of this unpredictability, then we let go what we have in our heart and our mind, then our journey will be joyous in walking to the other shore. So when you set the aspiration consciousness to the other shore, you're traveling on the other shore in this present moment. And that is what the Dharma joy is about. So it is to set that, because when you set, your mind is already set with aspiration consciousness. Although we're still unenlightened, but you know that you have faith in the Dharma. So therefore, be in the practice of nobility. Live this noble journey of life with the heart of the Bodhisattva and the mind of the Buddha. So what is this noble journey of the life? The noble journey is that noble mind of putting others ahead of you, they're putting the interests of others ahead of you. And when you do that, you already don't have the affliction of the self. When we don't have the affliction of the self, you are in practice of the non-self. So obviously in the practice of non-self, you're practicing the heart of the Bodhisattva. And then what we want to grow is to go in perfection in wisdom and to live the wisdom life, which is the mind of the Buddha. So on relationship, and joins relationship. Living the worldly life as a householder in practice is a spiritual adventure for you to explore yourself. Why is a spiritual adventure? Because most of the time, it's just because we need to discover who we are, and we need to go inside to find ourselves. So that's spiritual adventure. So with a joyous adventure, with your family, colleagues, friends, acquaintances, people, matters, and things, no matter what condition, no matter what condition is. So all these are phenomena that arises, but if we understand and the Dharma, it doesn't matter what condition it may be. And so long as this is a part that you got to uphold in the floral study of samadhi and wisdom, then the journey will be joyous because it's a journey of learning. But even though when pain arises, it's a pain of learning. I mean, it's same way that we went to college when we studied, we had to put in efforts, we had to put in painful efforts to study. So life will then unveil a spiritual mystery to you. Analyze the causes and conditions in which they arise in your life becomings, because they have so much to tell you on your life becoming. The life becoming that comes to you, it actually tells you what you've done in the past. And it tells you about the law, how the law of cause and effect works. So they have much to silently tell you. These are the whisperings of life for you to decipher. So with a higher consciousness that you have grown, with spiritual path, observe, and you can then learn and grow in wisdom. Okay, Kanan, brothers and sisters, thank you.
Kanan so much, Brother Chin, for leading us this Dharma Joy adventure. Yeah, I think every day we are accumulating all this joyfulness. I think as Kanan to all the brothers and sisters